Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History, and welcome to a very special edition of our next presidential series installment, looking at the man behind us, the myth, the legend that is our 16th president of the United States. Who is that, Henry?
Abraham Lincoln. Hi.
That's right. Henry here with me today for this very special 4-part series, taking a look at the 16th president of the United States behind us, Abraham Lincoln. We're going to start today with part 1, and we're going to be taking a look in part 1 at where Abraham Lincoln was born, which is actually in the state of Kentucky, and then where he grew up in Kentucky. He also lived in Indiana as a child, and then eventually moving to where most people know him from, the state of Illinois. We're going to get into all of that, the land of Lincoln as they call it in Illinois. We're going to get into all that in part 1, so sit back and relax. Part 1 of this very special 4-part series, taking a look at probably our most beloved president of all time, Abraham Lincoln. What do they have to do first, though, Henry?
Hit subscribe down below, leave all your comments and questions, and hit the little notification bell.
I mean, I can't sum it up any better than that. That's right. Comments, questions, leave them, likes. Hit subscribe, notification bell, because we're going to release videos when, Henry?
Every single week.
Every single week, that's right. And here we go. Part 1, 4-part series, Abraham Lincoln. And this is...
Dead History.
Dead History. Hey guys, TJ back with you, along with Henry.
Yep.
Part 1
Hello.
of our presidential installment, taking a look at Abraham Lincoln. This is again going to be about his childhood, the birthplace, all of that good stuff. Kentucky to Indiana to Illinois. You did the subscribe, you did all of that. Mm-hmm. You saw the commercial last week where we were promoting this great 4-part series. Yeah. We hope we live up to the hype. We hope you enjoy it. Please sit back and relax and enjoy part 1 of our video series, which is in 4 parts. Looking at who, Henry?
Abraham Lincoln.
That's right.
President.
That's right. Enjoy. Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History, and welcome to part 1 of our 4-part series, taking a look at our 16th president of the United States, good old honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln. I'm here with my son, Henry.
Hi.
And we are very excited, right, Henry?
Yes, we are. Very excited.
That's right. Very excited to jump in. And this part 1, I'm not sure what the title is just yet, because I haven't even came up with the title of the actual video yet, to be honest, at the time of this audio recording. But I will, this part 1 is going to be just taking a look at the childhood and the birthplace and that sort of thing, the young life of our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. So first thing I'll start with is Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12th of 1809. As all of us know, we celebrate President's Day every year in February because both George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, the 2 presidents we celebrate, they were both born in February. Lincoln, born on February 12th, 1809, as I just said. And, the truth of the matter is, this is just kind of my own opinions here. Abraham Lincoln definitely had risen from humble origins, no doubt. He was born in a log cabin. Lincoln was born in poverty, but it was something that he was not particularly proud of. He did not talk about it. He did not talk about the fact that he was born into poverty and he came really from nothing. And he most certainly did not use it as a selling point later in life when he was in politics and running for president and such. It was not something that he talked about, boasted about, or tried to use to persuade voters, so to speak. That was not something that Lincoln did. I'm going to kind of just read some information for you about his childhood and about early life. So, as I said, born on February 12th of 1809, he was the second child of Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln. He was born in a log cabin on Sinking Spring Farm, and that is near Hodgenville, Kentucky. He was a descendant of Samuel Lincoln, who was an Englishman who migrated from Hingham, Norfolk, to its namesake, Hingham, Massachusetts, in 1638. The family then migrated west, passing through New Jersey, my home state, right, Henry? Home state, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And then Lincoln's paternal grandparents, his namesake Captain Abraham Lincoln and wife, I think it's Bathsheba Herring, they moved the family from Virginia to Jefferson County, Kentucky. The captain was killed, that's his paternal grandfather. He was killed in an Indian raid in 1786, and his children, including 8-year-old Thomas, that's Abraham's father, witnessed the attack. He witnessed his dad dying. Thomas then worked odd jobs in Kentucky and Tennessee before the family settled in Hardin County, Kentucky in the early 1800s. The heritage of Lincoln's mother, Nancy, remains kind of unclear, but it is widely assumed that she was the daughter of Lucy Hanks. Thomas and Nancy married on June 12th of 1806 in Washington County and moved to Elizabethtown, Kentucky. They had 3 children, Sarah, that's Abraham's sister, Abraham himself, and Thomas, Abraham's brother. And Thomas actually died as an infant. So Sarah and Abraham were the only 2 that lived. Now, Thomas Lincoln, the father, he bought or leased farms in Kentucky before losing all but 200 acres of his land in a court dispute over property titles. And in 1816, the family moved to Indiana, where the land surveys and titles were more reliable. Indiana was a free, non-slaveholding territory, and they settled in an unbroken forest in Hurricane Township, which is Perry County, Indiana. And in 1860, Abraham Lincoln himself noted that the family's move to Indiana was partly on account of slavery, but mainly due to land title difficulties. Interesting little fact. In Kentucky and Indiana, Thomas Lincoln worked as a farmer, cabinet maker, and a carpenter, and at various times he owned farms, livestock, and town lots, paid taxes, sat on juries, he appraised estates, and served on county patrols. Thomas and Nancy, Lincoln's parents, were members of a separate Baptist church which forbade alcohol, dancing, and slavery. So it was a very strict church that didn't believe in alcohol, slavery, or dancing, apparently. Interesting. Overcoming financial challenges, Thomas in 1827 obtained clear title to the 80 acres in Indiana on an area which became the Little Pigeon Creek community. So pretty cool stuff there. Interesting thing about Lincoln's mother, when Abraham Lincoln was only 9 years old in 1818, his mother, Nancy, died of a mysterious milk sickness that swept across southern Indiana. It was later learned that the strange disease was due to drinking tainted milk from a cow that had ingested poisonous white snake root. So, pretty interesting stuff there. It actually, to get a little further into Lincoln's mom's death, it was October 5th of 1818 where Nancy Lincoln succumbed to the milk sickness, leaving 11-year-old Sarah, Abraham's sister, in charge of a household, including her father, Thomas, and 9-year-old Abraham Lincoln, and Nancy's 19-year-old orphan cousin, Dennis Hanks. He also lived with them. So 10 years later, on January 20th of 1828, Lincoln's sister, Sarah, died while giving birth to a stillborn son. And this devastated Abraham Lincoln. He was really, really upset and taken with the fact that when he was 9, his mom died, and then just 10 years later, his sister died while giving birth to what would have been his nephew. So pretty sad stuff there. And then on December 2nd of 1819, Thomas Lincoln married Sarah Bush Johnston, a widow from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, with 3 children of her own. So Abraham became close to his stepmother, and he actually ended up calling her mother. That's Sarah Bush Johnston that we're speaking of. Lincoln disliked the hard labor associated with farm life, and his family even said he was lazy for all his reading, scribbling, writing, ciphering, writing poetry, etc. His stepmother acknowledged he did not enjoy physical labor, but he loved to read. So interesting stuff about Lincoln when he was a young boy. So what we're going to take a look at, what I'm going to show you is the Abraham Lincoln birthplace. So there is a park in Kentucky, and it's known as the Abraham Lincoln Birthplace Park. And And it was actually, it's kind of just some interesting fun facts about it. It was the site of the first Lincoln Memorial, so to speak. For over a century, people from around the world have come to rural central Kentucky to honor the humble beginnings of our 16th president. Who's that, Henry?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. His early life on Kentucky's frontier shaped his character and prepared him to lead the nation through Civil War. The country's first memorial to Lincoln, built with donations from young and old, enshrines the symbolic birthplace cabin. So all these pictures right now that you're seeing on your screen, when I was in Kentucky last year in 2020, I had visited the Birthplace State Park. The really cool thing about it is, well, there was an uncool thing and a cool thing. The uncool thing was everything was closed, including this memorial building that has, inside of it, it has a replica of the log cabin that he was born in. Obviously, it's not the actual log cabin because that has long been destroyed over the years. Actually, I'll give you a little history on it. Born in a one-room log cabin on his father's Sinking Spring farm it was a Sunday, February 12th of 1809. Abraham Lincoln's early years on the Kentucky frontier helped to shape his character and prepare the boy who would grow up to become the 16th president of the United States and lead our nation through the tragic and turbulent times of the Civil War. And his legacy of liberty and equality remains relevant today and continues to impact people from all around the world. Absolutely true. So inside of this building that you're kind of seeing the photos of here on your screen, that's inside of that is like a replica log cabin. I didn't get to go inside, but the cool thing, when I said there was a cool and uncool, the cool thing was I had the entire park to myself. No one was there. So it was really, really cool. I got to be there all by myself. You're seeing like pictures too of like the Nancy Lincoln Inn. Nancy Lincoln Inn is a symbol of devotion to Abraham Lincoln's family from the early days of auto tourism. In 1828, James R. Howe built the inn named in honor of Lincoln's mother to accommodate increasing numbers of motorists who were coming to rural Kentucky to visit Lincoln's birthplace in the memorial building. So just some cool, interesting stuff there. You see that.
Set before you is a tactile model created in a dark brown resin of the memorial to Abraham Lincoln and his birthplace. The actual memorial is in front of the model, about 500 feet away across a grassy area. Please note, restrooms are located in the visitor center, behind you and to the right, about 400 feet away. The model is rectangular, and you are standing at one of its short ends. It sits on an aluminum structure which rests on a white concrete slab. The model is set on legs 27 inches high above the slab, and its dimensions are 5.5 feet by 3 feet. Closest to you is a flat section with gold text. Following the printed text, it is written in Braille. The text reads, "Here over the log cabin where Abraham Lincoln was born, destined to preserve the Union and to free the slave, a grateful people have dedicated this memorial to unity, peace, and brotherhood among these states, with malice toward none, with charity for all." To the right is the logo indicating the availability of audio description.
You got, of course, the spring here. It was called Sinking Spring. Abraham Lincoln probably took his first drink of water from this spring. These pictures you're seeing here on the screen of the spring, a dependable water source, undoubtedly was an important factor in Thomas Lincoln's decision to purchase Sinking Spring Farm. The Sinking Spring is an example of a karst window in an unusual landform. A karst window is a special type of sinkhole that gives us a view into the karst aquifer. So, pretty cool. It was neat. It really was. To see the memorial here, this building, to see the sinking spring that, as you just heard me say, was probably somewhere where Abraham Lincoln took his first drink of water from. That's probably where his first bath water that he was ever given, first bath ever, that water came from that spring. Just really cool stuff. So this is it. Abraham Lincoln's Birthplace Park The actual name is Abraham Lincoln Birthplace National Historic Park. It's ran by the National Park Service. That is there in Kentucky. I believe it's Hodgenville, Kentucky is the actual town I think it's considered in. And now, not far from there, a little bit up the road, is what is known as Knob Creek. Now, Knob Creek, I'll read you a little bit about that with Lincoln. Knob Creek was the boyhood home. And actually, this is a cool thing. My earliest recollection is of the Knob Creek place, so wrote Abraham Lincoln on June 4th of 1860 to Samuel Haycraft of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Haycraft had invited the future president to visit his childhood home in Kentucky, and the Lincoln family lived on 30 acres of the 228-acre Knob Creek farm from the time Abraham Lincoln was 2.5 until he was almost 18 years old. So that's what the really cool thing is. He was born from where his birthplace, that memorial and that park is, to where this is, where Knob Creek Farm is, where he was from 2.5 to 18, where he lived and grew up. It's maybe 5 miles. I mean, it's really not far. It's not a far drive. It's, within 5 to 10 miles of one another. And there you go. I mean, it's Kentucky. It's Elizabethtown, Kentucky. People don't realize, or I should say, most people do, but a lot of people they think that Abraham Lincoln is just from Illinois, because he's known as the land of Lincoln in Illinois, but grew up most of his childhood life in the state of Kentucky. Here at Knob Creek, he learned to talk and soon grow big enough to run errands such as carrying water and gathering wood for the fires. Abraham recalled in later years numerous memories of his childhood here, a stone house he had passed while taking corn to Hodgen's mill, a certain big tree that attached his boyish fancy, and the old homestead, the clear stream where he fished, and the surrounding hills where he picked berries were all impressed in the mind of Abraham Lincoln. He actually could remember how he stayed by his mother's side and watched her face while listening to her read the Bible. Lincoln could also remember the baby brother who was born and died, his young infant baby brother who died on the Knob Creek farm. He remembered one occasion when he and his sister Sarah had planted the garden. Abraham Lincoln said he planted pumpkin seeds in every other hill and every other row, while Sarah and others planted the corn. The following night, a big rain in the hills sent water rushing into the creek. The creek flooded the fields and washed away their garden. It was also at Knob Creek that Abraham first saw African Americans being taken south along the Bardstown Green River Turnpike, part of the old Cumberland Road, to be sold as slaves. So he actually witnessed this when he was young. That's when he first really got kind of a taste of slavery. Lincoln once wrote that while living on Knob Creek, he and his sister Sarah were sent for short periods to an ABC school, the first kept by Zachariah Riney and the second by Caleb Hazel. These were subscription schools and only lasted a few months. Free schools did not come to Kentucky until the 1830s. So likewise, he never forgot the time he fell in the swollen Knob Creek while playing on a foot-long log near his home. Had it not been for Austin Gallagher, a friend, Abraham Lincoln probably would have drowned that day when he was a kid. Austin, with a keen sense of pioneer knowledge, grabbed a long tree limb from the bank and held it out like a strong arm to the struggling Abraham Lincoln. Abraham spoke of the incident after he became president. The family left Knob Creek in Kentucky in December of 1816, and they moved to Spencer County, Indiana. So, pretty cool stuff. You're seeing pictures, as I've been talking. These are all when I visited Knob Creek. That's the Knob Creek farm there. And as you see, there's a sign. Abraham Lincoln lived on this 220-acre farm from 1811 to 1816. He wrote in 1860 that his earliest recollection is of the Knob Creek place. A younger brother, as I said, Thomas, was born here and unfortunately did die here when he was just an infant. So, pretty interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff, as a matter of fact. So, then, of course, Lincoln, the family moved, like I said, right around when he was about 18 years old to Indiana. And there's actually, I didn't visit here, so these pictures that you're going to see, of the home and the little like memorial and museum. It's the Lincoln Boyhood National Memorial. I'm trying to get the exact. It looks like the mailing address is Lincoln City, Indiana. And just to give you a little bit here, it says, "There I grew up," Abraham Lincoln said. Abraham Lincoln grew from youth to manhood on his southern Indiana soil. Many character and moral traits of one of the world's most respected leaders was formed and nurtured here. Explore Lincoln's boyhood and learn about the boy who would one day become the leader of our nation. So, pretty cool stuff. There's a cabin site memorial there. There's a memorial building with sculptured panels. All sorts of really interesting stuff. And the family, like I said, moved here when Lincoln was about 18 years old. And he kind of just remembers this. I'm going to read just a little bit here about this as you're looking at pictures. Again, I am not taking credit for these photos. These are all photos that I found stock online. I have never visited this actual childhood home in Indiana. So, Abraham Lincoln and his family moved from Kentucky to Indiana in 1816, and they stayed until 1830, when they moved to Illinois. During this period, Lincoln grew physically and intellectually into a man. The people he knew here and the things he experienced had a profound influence on his life. His sense of honesty, his belief in the importance of education and learning, his respect for hard work, his compassion for his fellow man, and his moral convictions about right and wrong were all born of this place and this time. The time he spent here helped shape the man that went on to lead the country. This site is of our most direct tie with that time of his life. The Lincoln Boyhood preserves the place where he learned to laugh with his father, cried over the death of his mother, read the books that opened his mind, and triumphed over the adversities of life on the frontier. So there you go. There's some information about his home life in Indiana. He was largely self-educated, right, Henry? Kind of taught himself, right? Despite becoming a successful lawyer, Lincoln did not have a degree. His total schooling obtained from traveling teachers, as I mentioned earlier, and is estimated to total only around 1 year of actual formal education, so to speak. Another really cool thing, Lincoln, a lot of people don't realize, he didn't move to Illinois until he was 21. Illinois may be known as the land of Lincoln, as I've mentioned, but it was in Indiana that the 16th president spent his formative years, and he was born in a Kentucky log cabin, as I said, and in 1816, his father Thomas moved the family across the Ohio River to a 160-acre plot in southern Indiana, as we just touched on. He did not migrate until 1830 to Illinois. So everybody, it's land of Lincoln, but not necessarily. So, marriage and children. Lincoln's first romantic interest was with Anne Rutledge, whom he met when he moved to New Salem, and by 1835, they were in a relationship but not formally engaged. Anne Rutledge actually died on August 25th of 1835, most likely of typhoid fever, and in the early 1830s, he met Mary Owens from Kentucky. Late in 1836, Lincoln agreed to a match with Owens if she returned to New Salem. So Owens arrived that November, and he courted her for a time. However, they both had second thoughts. And on August 16th of 1837, he wrote Owens a letter saying he would not blame her if she wanted to end the relationship, and she never replied. So it was just basically over. And then in 1839, Abraham Lincoln met Mary Todd in Springfield, Illinois, and the following year they became engaged. She was the daughter of Robert Smith Todd, a wealthy lawyer and businessman in Lexington, Kentucky. The wedding was set for January 1st of 1841. It was canceled at Lincoln's request, but they reconciled, and then they married on November 4th of 1842. So about almost 2 years later is when they actually did get married. They got married in the Springfield mansion of Mary's sister. And while anxiously preparing for the nuptials, Abraham Lincoln was asked where he was going, and he replied, "To hell, I suppose." Pretty harsh. In 1844, the couple bought a house in Springfield near his law office. Mary kept house with the help of a hired servant and a relative. Lincoln was an affectionate husband and father of 4 sons. Though his work regularly kept him away from the home, his oldest was Robert Todd Lincoln. He was born in 1843, and he was the only child to live to maturity. He was the only one that did not die as a kid. Edward Baker Lincoln, who was Eddie, he was born in 1846. He died on February 1st of 1850, probably of tuberculosis. Lincoln's third son was Willie, the famous Willie Lincoln. He was born on December 21st of 1850. He died of a fever at the White House on February 20th of 1862. We'll get more into Willie when we go through his presidency. The youngest, Thomas Tad Lincoln, was born on April 4th of 1853, and he survived past his father, Abraham, dying. But Thomas Tad Lincoln died of heart failure at only the age of 18 on July 16th of 1871. Lincoln was remarkably fond of children, and the Lincolns were not considered to be strict with their own. In fact, Lincoln's law partner, William H. Herndon, would grow irritated when Lincoln would bring his children to the law office. Their father, it seemed, was often too absorbed in his work to notice his children's behavior, and Herndon recounted, "I have felt many and a many time that I wanted to wring their little necks, and yet out of respect for Abraham Lincoln, I kept my mouth shut." Lincoln did note that what his children were doing or had done. The deaths of their son, Eddie and Willie, had profound effects on both parents, both Mary Todd and Abraham, and Lincoln suffered melancholy, a condition now thought to be clinical depression. Later in life, Mary Todd Lincoln struggled with the stresses of losing not only her husband, but also her sons, and Robert, her oldest son, Robert Lincoln, committed her for a time to an asylum in 1875. We'll get into all that during our later videos. So, this was kind of a look at the early life and the early childhood of Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president of the United States. This was part 1. This was the birthplace, childhood home in Kentucky, later childhood home in Indiana, and then his move to, of course, Illinois, and then how he met his wife. And now in part 2, we're going to get into, his presidency, right, Henry?
Presidency.
Right? The Civil War, the Emancipation Proclamation, all of that, right? Mm-hmm. We're also going to get into how he, was educated and became a lawyer, and then, any of his political career, which was hardly none before he ever became president. We're going to get into all of that in part 2. So, we thank you so much. This is probably the only audio part that Henry's going to be a part of. I'll probably be doing parts 2, 3, and 4, the audio, all by myself. But, Henry, right? Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And thank you for all the subscribers.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for all the support. Thank you for everything. And this has been a lot of fun, right, Lincoln?
Yeah.
Lincoln's been a lot of fun for us. This was something we were looking forward to for a long time, Henry and I. Long time. Yeah, we had to get through some kind of interesting, if you want to say, lackluster presidents for a little while. And now, doing Lincoln is a real treat. So, thank you again, right, Henry?
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for the subscribes. Leave those comments, questions, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified of videos. Part 2 will be up tomorrow. Part 3 the day after. Part 4 the day after that. 1 each day for this amazing 4-part series looking at the 16th president of the United States of America, who is
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.